Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you know when live we go. Hello and welcome to the session on current affairs for the month of December. The purpose of this session are three. One is to give you the list of important topics that you must cover. Two is to discuss with you some questions that will help you judge the knowledge and concept that you have absorbed. And three is to discuss with you some tricks and smartness that you can deploy in attempting the prelims paper. In February, Supreme Court gave a judgment on the 10th schedule of Constitution of India. Basically, it defines the power of the Speaker in relation to the anti-defection law in India. The office of Speaker is a constitutional office, and UPSC has repeatedly asked questions on power and function of Speaker. For example, in 2018, UPSC asked this question: Speaker of the Legislative Assembly shall vacate his or her office if he or she ceases to be a member of the Assembly. Usually, the Speaker remains in the office during the life of the Assembly. However, he or she will have to vacate the office if he or she ceases to be member of the Assembly, or he or she resigns, or a resolution is passed to remove the Speaker from his or her office. So the statement 1 is correct. The statement 2 is, whenever the Legislative Assembly is dissolved, the Speaker shall vacate his or her office immediately. Well, this statement is incorrect because the Speaker holds office from the date of his or her election till before the meeting of the first Legislative Assembly after dissolution of the Assembly to which he or she was elected. On the dissolution of the Legislative Assembly, although the Speaker ceases to be the member of the House, but still the Speaker does not vacate the office. So the statement is incorrect. Answer is A. UPSC asked this question in 2017. The first statement was, in the election to Lok Sabha or State Assembly, the winning candidate must get at least 50% of the vote polled to be declared elected. This is a beginner level thing to ask for, and this is absolutely incorrect. You would be aware that we follow the first past the post system, and in this system, the candidate who has got the highest percentage of vote will win, irrespective whether that is more than 50%, less than 50%, 5%, 0.5%, whatever. Statement 2 is, according to the provisions laid down in the Constitution of India, in the Lok Sabha, the Speaker's post goes to the majority party and the Deputy Speakers to the opposition. This is true that by convention, Speaker's post goes to the majority party and Deputy Speakers to the opposition, but there is no provision for this in the Constitution of India. So adding this in the beginning of the statement, according to the provision laid down in the Constitution of India, makes this statement incorrect. Both the statements are wrong. Answer would be D. This question was asked in UPSC Prelims 2019. UPSC gave 4 statements. Statement 1 was, the motion to impeach a judge of a Supreme Court of India cannot be rejected by the Speaker as per the Judges Inquiry Act 1968. The office of Speaker is very important one in the parliamentary democracy, bestowed with too much power, and Speaker actually has the discretion to either accept or to reject motion to impeach judge of a Supreme Court. A Speaker can also stall the beginning of the motion. For example, in case of Justice Deepak Mishra, the notice to bring a motion was also rejected. Second statement is, the Constitution of India defines and gives details of what constitute incapacity and proved misbehavior of the judges of the Supreme Court of India. Constitution has given many terms, many phrases, but the explanation and definition of many of them are missing. And so is the case of incapacity and proved misbehavior of judges. They have been mentioned but not explained or not defined in the Constitution. And the statement says that the Constitution has defined. So the statement is incorrect. Rest of the 2 statements are factual and they are correct, and they are related with judges rather than the topic of our discussion, the office of Speaker. So we'll not discuss it, but the answer would be option C. Now let us see this question. Consider the following statements. The 10th schedule of the Constitution of India empowers the Speaker of Lok Sabha to be the final decider on the question of anti-defection for any member of Parliament. The second statement is Speaker while deciding case of anti-defection must decide within reasonable time frame. The first statement is incorrect because as per the 10th schedule of the Constitution of India, Speaker of Lok Sabha is the final decider on question of anti-defection for member of Lok Sabha, not any member of the Parliament. For the Raj Sabha, the chairman will take the decision. Second statement is correct because in Kihoto Holohan case, Supreme Court said that Speaker while deciding case of anti-defection must decide within reasonable time and should not take more than 3 months. Actually, paragraph 1 of the 10th schedule of the Constitution of India empowers the Speaker of the Lok Sabha and Chairman of the Raj Sabha to be the final decider on the question of anti-defection. And paragraph 6.2 of the 10th schedule mentions that such proceedings of anti-defection before the Speaker or the Chairman shall be considered as proceedings in the Parliament as per Article 122 or 211 of Indian Constitution. What is Article 122? Article 122 says that the courts do not inquire into the proceedings of the Parliament on the ground of any alleged irregularity of the procedure. So it effectively means that the proceedings of anti-defection before the Speaker will not be inquired in the courts on the grounds of alleged irregularity of procedure. But recently Supreme Court has given a judgment that although it is true that the procedure followed by the Speaker during the anti-defection proceeding will not be inquired, but the final result can be inquired. Let's quickly see the important pointers from the judgment. Supreme Court has said that the decision of the Speaker under para 6.1 of the 10th schedule, meaning that when Speaker is acting as the final decider for anti-defection, the decision of the Speaker is not the decision of the House, nor it is subjected to approval by the House. The decision operates independently from the functioning of the House. That means the Speaker can go ahead with the proceedings in the matter of anti-defection even when House is not in operation. As per the Supreme Court, the term proceedings in the Parliament attract immunity mere on the irregularities of the procedure. We have seen that the paragraph 6.2 of the 10th schedule says that the procedure followed by the Speaker in the matter of anti-defection will be considered to be the same as proceedings in the Parliament, and proceedings in the Parliament are immune to judicial review. So by extension, the procedure followed by the Speaker in the matter of anti-defection will also be immune to judicial review. But the Supreme Court here has said that the immunity is only for the procedure. The decision of the Speaker can be judicially reviewed, and only the procedure followed cannot be judicially reviewed. The judicial review can be done on the grounds of infirmities. If the decision of the Speaker is found to be infirm based on violation of the constitutional mandates, or if the decision seems to be malified or in non-compliance with the rules of natural justice, then the courts will open its door for judicial review. Supreme Court has said that judicial review cannot be available at a stage prior to making of a decision by the chairman or speaker. That is why in Kihoto Holohan case, Supreme Court said that the speaker must take a decision on anti-defection within reasonable time and should not take more than 3 months. So in this period of 3 months, the court will not interfere. But after 3 months, when the decision has been taken, and if the decision seems to be infirm based upon violation of constitutional mandate, or if the decision seems to be malified, or if the decision is in non-compliance with the principle of natural justice, then the court will do the review. There are 2 more important things I must tell you regarding this judgment. The Supreme Court has said that Parliament must seriously consider amending the Constitution to substitute Speaker of the Lok Sabha and Legislative Assemblies as arbiter of disputes concerning the disqualification under 10th schedule with a permanent tribunal headed by either retired Supreme Court judge or retired Chief Justice of a High Court, or by some other independent mechanism as decided by the wisdom of the parliament, but that must be a permanent tribunal and independent in nature. See, there are two things here. First, Supreme Court observed that speaker continues to belong to a particular party and there is inherent bias in their rulings. So to remove such bias, it is necessary that a permanent tribunal shall hear cases of defection under the 10th schedule, as it would impart swiftness and impartiality in decision making, thus giving real teeth to the provisions contained in the 10th schedule. Secondly, there is a concept of principle of natural justice, as per which a judge is disqualified from hearing any case in which he or she may be fairly suspected to be biased. If you see how judges are not removed by judges. Judges are removed by parliament. And how parliamentarians are being removed? Parliamentarians are being removed by speaker or a chairman, but speaker himself is a member of parliament. So this is against the principle of natural justice. The parliamentarians must be removed by an independent permanent tribunal. Let us see this question of 2015 prelims exam on Finance Commission. With reference to 14 Finance Commission, which of the following statements are correct? It has increased the share of states in the central divisible pool from 32% to 42%. It was a big news back then. This was a huge jump that the Finance Commission recommended in 2014-15, and hence this was prominently there in the current affair. This is absolutely correct statement. The second statement is it has made recommendations concerning sector-specific grants. Previous finance commissions have given sector-specific grants, but 14th Finance Commission did not give any sector-specific grant. This is incorrect statement. The answer was option A. Let us see a question on 15th Finance Commission. Statement 1. It has decreased the share of states in the central divisible pool from 42% to 41%. Second statement is demographic performance criteria has been introduced by the 15th Finance Commission. Both the statements are correct. The answer is option C. 15th Finance Commission has decreased the share of state in center's divisible pool from 42% to 41%. And this 1% decrement has been recommended by the Finance Commission to consider for the formation of Union Territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. 15th Finance Commission also has introduced for the first time demographic performance as a criteria for horizontal distribution of taxes among the states. The Commission has recommended 12.5% weightage to demographic performance. Demographic performance is measured by the fertility rate of the state. Basically, it indicates the effort taken by the state government in controlling the population. And if the fertility rate is lower, the state will be rewarded. 15th Finance Commission has decreased the weightage of income distance from 50%, which was recommended by 14th Finance Commission, to 45%. Income distance basically is the gap between per capita income of a particular state and state with the highest per capita income. If the income distance is high, that indicates that the state is poorer and needs greater help from the center's divisible pool. One of the important mandate of 15th Finance Commission was to look into the possibility of considering population as per the census of 2011 for the division of taxes among the states. But however, the southern states from early 1970s have taken a lot of effort to control the population and they have reduced their fertility rate considerably. So if the population as per the census of 2011 would be considered, then the more populated northern states will be benefiting. So the 15th Finance Commission has done a fine balance. It has introduced demographic performance as another consideration apart from taking the population as per the 2011 census. So population as per 1971 census has not been considered. Population only as per 2011 census has been considered by the 15th Finance Commission, and additionally, demographic performance has been introduced for the first time. 15th Finance Commission also has given forest and ecology as a parameter for division of the taxes, and the weightage is 10%. This parameter is measured by calculating the share of dense forest of each state in the aggregate dense forest of all states. Area as a criteria has been kept from the 14th Finance Commission's recommendation, and the weightage also has been kept same as 15%. Tax effort was not considered earlier, and this also has been introduced by the 15th Finance Commission. Weightage of 2.5% has been given to this parameter. Tax effort basically refers to the efficiency by which the state government collects its taxes. It is measured by the ratio of per capita own tax of the state government and the per capita GDP of the state. The highest weightage has been given to income distance 45%, and then population as per 2011 census 15%, area 15%, demographic performance comes at number 4, 12.5%, then forest and ecology, and then tax effort. At least the order of this you should remember for the prelims exam. Recently, Supreme Court has given very important judgment on reservation in jobs and promotion. Let's discuss this through questions. In 2017, UPSC asked a question, right to vote and to be elected in India is a fundamental right, natural right, constitutional right, or a legal right? The answer to this was that it's a constitutional right. Right to vote is not a fundamental right. On a similar line, let's see this question. Consider the following statements. Reservation in jobs and promotion is not a fundamental right in India. Statement 2. State has to compulsorily collect quantifiable data showing inadequacy of representation of the class getting reservation in public services. First statement is correct. This is what the judgment is based on, and we shall discuss it in a short while. Second statement is incorrect. In 2006 M. Nagaraj case, Supreme Court spelled out 3 conditions for giving reservation in job and promotion, and presenting a quantifiable data showing inadequacy of representation of the class was one of the conditions. But then in 2018, in Jarnail Singh case, Supreme Court partially amended M. Nagaraj case, and since then, state has no obligation to present the quantifiable data. If a state declares a class to be backward, that class is deemed to be backward. Statement 2 is incorrect. Answer would be option A. As per the recent judgment of the Supreme Court, reservation in promotions in public posts cannot be claimed as a fundamental right under Article 16.4 and Article 16.4a. Article 16.4 says state can provide reservation of appointments or posts in favor of any backward class of citizens which in the opinion of the state is not adequately represented in the services under the state. And Article 16.4a that was added by 77th Constitutional Amendment says state can make provision for reservation in matters of promotion with consequential seniority to any class or classes of post in the services under the state. So 16.4 and 16.4a, these 2 articles are the basis for providing reservations in jobs and promotions with consequential seniority. But the judgment of February 2020 of Supreme Court says that Article 16.4 and 16.4a are enabling provisions. And accordingly, the state has the discretion either to provide reservation in public services under Article 16.4 or to not provide any such reservation. This is nothing new. Actually, this is exactly what the Supreme Court said in the M. Nagaraj case in 2006. In the M. Nagaraj case, the 77th Constitutional Amendment was challenged. The Supreme Court upheld the amendment. However, the court said that the provision 16.4a that was added by the amendment and also 16.4, they were enabling provisions. And Supreme Court laid down 3 conditions for providing reservations in job, promotion, and promotion with consequential seniority. Condition 1 was that the state has to collect quantifiable data on backwardness of the class. Also, the state has to prove the inadequate representation of the class in public employment. And the third criteria was the state has to show that there will be no compromise on the efficiency of the administration. The first and the third criteria was difficult to present. You can present the inadequate representation of a class in public employment. The government has data related to every employee, and this can be statistically presented. But to present the backwardness of a class and to show that reservation will not compromise on the efficiency of the administration is a difficult task. Government appealed against it, and in 2018, in Jarnail Singh case, Supreme Court partly modified the Nagraj case. And ever since, the states have been spared with the obligation of proving the backwardness of a class. So the matter as it stands today, the state has no obligation to show the backwardness of a class. In the recent judgment, the court reiterated the same thing as was said in the M. Nagraj case, that these are the enabling provisions, and if the state wish to provide reservation in promotion, then the state has to collect quantifiable data showing inadequate representation of that class. In the Jarnail Singh case, the obligation of the state to collect quantifiable data showing inadequacy of representation was not taken back. So this obligation the states still have. So in this context, the judgment also said that the court cannot direct a state to provide such reservation under the writ of mandamus. Mandamus basically is a judicial remedy in which the court directs any government or any subordinate court or any corporation or any public authority to do some specific act which that body is obliged to do under law. So all in all, in this judgment, Supreme Court effectively held that the state government is not bound to make reservations and citizens cannot claim reservation in public services under Article 16.4 and 16.4a as a fundamental right. Now you in the comment section would tell me if it's not a fundamental right, then what it is, whether it's a constitutional right or it's a legal right. In February, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change came up with enforcement and monitoring guidelines for sand mining 2020. UPSC has asked question on sand mining many times before. In 2019, UPSC asked a question on M sand. Let us see this question of 2018. Which of the following are the possible consequences of heavy sand mining in riverbeds? Decreased salinity in the river, pollution of groundwater, lowering of the water table. See, when you do sand mining, obviously you are breaking up the rock and some of the salts from those rock will come out, get dissolved in water, and salinity will increase. That is pretty basic. So first statement is incorrect. Pollution obviously will happen because of the drilling process in the sand mining. Sands act as a cushion, as the absorbent of water, and that helps in recharge of water table. So excessive sand mining will result in lowering the water table. So this statement is also correct. The answer would be 2 and 3, option B. Let us see this question. Consider the following statements. The Enforcement and Monitoring Guidelines for Sand Mining 2020 has pushed for online sales and purchase of sand and other riverbed materials to make the process transparent. This statement seems very benign, and since the government of India has been pushing for online sales of other minerals, so by extension this also will sound correct, and this is a factual correct statement. Statement 2 says the Mines and Mineral Development and Regulation Act 1957 empowers the state governments to make rules to prevent illegal mining, transportation, and storage of minerals. State governments are the regulators for minor minerals, and sand for much of its purpose is considered to be a minor mineral. So this statement also sounds correct. Both statements are factual, both statements are correct statement. Answer is option C. The Enforcement and Monitoring Guidelines for Sand Mining 2020 released by the Environment Ministry includes directions to the states to carry out river audits, put detailed survey report of all mining areas online in a public domain, conduct replenishment studies of riverbeds, constantly monitor mining with drones, aerial surveys, ground surveys, and set up a dedicated task force at district levels. This is important, and this could be asked in one of the options in the prelims exam of 2020. The guidelines also push for online sales and purchase of sand and other riverbed materials. The Mines and Mineral Development and Regulation Act 1957 actually has empowered the state government to make rules to prevent illegal mining, transportation, and storage of minerals. To make rules to prevent illegal mining, transportation, and storage of minerals. There already exist Sustainable Sand Management Guidelines 2016. Over and above this, to make the regulation more strict, the 2020 guideline has been issued, and whenever there will be conflict between the two guidelines, the new guideline will hold legal precedence. UPSC keep asking questions on new materials and new technologies. In this context, let us take two questions on technical textile. First question is, consider the following statements regarding technical textile. They are manufactured primarily for their functional properties. Second statement is, they are necessarily manufactured through 3D printing. First statement is little technical about technical textile. It means that they are manufactured for their properties like tensile strength, heat resistance, and they are not primarily manufactured for aesthetics. They are primarily manufactured for some defined industrial role. And that is correct. That is the basic definition of technical textile. First statement is correct. The good thing about the second statement is that it's extreme statement. It says that they are necessarily manufactured through 3D printing. And any extreme statement makes the job very easy because 99.99% times they are incorrect. So is this statement. Why? Come on, why will they be necessarily manufactured through 3D printing? This is absolutely incorrect. We shouldn't further talk about this. This is so incorrect, it does not deserve any discussion. The answer in this case will be option A. Let us see another question on technical textile. India has emerged as one of the largest manufacturer and exporter of technical textiles. Second statement is National Technical Textile Mission has been launched to develop biodegradable technical textiles only. Well, as an aspiration, it is good to develop biodegradable technical textile, but the mission should not be dedicated to only biodegradable technical textile. Common sense says that because A, it will be a little difficult to develop biodegradable ones, and B, we can also look for areas where recycling can be done, and in that case, biodegradable necessarily will not be required. So this is statement by the virtue of having only has high chance that it is incorrect. In this case, this is definitely incorrect. Statement 1 is also incorrect because India has emerged as one of the largest manufacturer and exporter of conventional textile. But in case of technical textile, India is lagging behind. Both the statements are incorrect. Answer is D. Technical textiles are basically the textiles which are manufactured primarily for their technical performance and functional properties rather than aesthetic or decorative characteristics. Technical textiles have application in medical field, for example in implants. They can be developed as geotextiles for reinforcement of embankments, etc. Also in agriculture they'll find their utility. They can be used also as protective clothing. Although India is the leader in conventional textile, India's success story has not taken off in case of technical textile. India is the net importer of technical textile and the import is almost equal. To the manufacturation of the textile in India. The penetration level of technical textile is as low as 5 to 10%. In advanced economy, it is around 30 to 70%. So, to give boost to production of technical textile and to position India as a global leader, Finance Minister announced National Technical Textile Mission in the budget of 2020. The mission has been announced for a period of 4 years beginning from 2020 to 21 up till 2023-24. The focus would be to use the technical textile in various flagship missions and programs in the country, including strategic sectors. The idea is to use the technical textile in the existing missions of Government of India and in various areas, for example in agriculture, in aquaculture, in dairy, in poultry, to implement it through Jal Jeevan Mission, Swachh Bharat Mission, Ayushman Bharat, etc. This will give boost to the production of technical textiles. There is one sub-component of research that will focus on development of biodegradable technical textile. But the entire mission is not about biodegradable technical textiles. There is given a paragraph and you have to identify the paragraph is referring to which form of agriculture or farming system. It says it is a farming system that can prevent loss of arable land while regenerating degraded lands. It promotes maintenance of a permanent soil cover, minimum soil disturbance, and diversification of plant species. It enhances biodiversity and natural biological processes above and below ground surface, which contribute to increased water and nutrient use efficiency and to improve and sustain crop production. Soil intervention as a mechanical soil disturbance are reduced to an absolute minimum or avoided. So far, it is clear that this is not organic farming because it is talking about minimum soil disturbance and no such practice is done in organic farming. It further says external inputs such as agrochemicals and plant nutrients of mineral or organic origin are applied optimally. So it cannot also be zero budget natural farming because in natural farming, the outside input, whether it is organic or inorganic or synthetic, that is not applied. So option B also cannot be the answer. It further says this kind of farming system opens increased option for integration of production sectors such as crop livestock integration and the integration of trees and pastures into agricultural landscape. So we have come down to either conservation agriculture or climate smart agriculture. Climate smart agriculture is specific to adoption and mitigation techniques. But this paragraph is not referring particularly to adoption and mitigation techniques. Rather, it seems that it can be applied in any landscape. In that case, the most appropriate answer to this question would be option C, conservation agriculture. Every year in the prelims paper, UPSC touch upon renewable energy. And in renewable energy, UPSC often asks from the solar energy sector. In 2018, UPSC asked this question with reference to solar power production in India. Consider the following statements. Statement 1. India is the third largest in the world in manufacture of silicon wafers used in photovoltaic units. India actually does not manufacture silicon wafers. So there is no question of being third largest. India is not a manufacturer at all. Second statement is solar power tariff are determined by Solar Energy Corporation of India. This was a difficult option because this is not a general thing to know. Actually, the power tariffs are determined by Central Electricity Regulation Corporation and not by Solar Energy Corporation of India. This was a little obscure thing that was asked in the exam that made that paper of 2018 really difficult. But however, now you know the answer is option D. Let us see this question. Solar Risk Mitigation Initiative is led by World Bank, European Union, BRICS, East Asia Summit. The answer tentatively you would feel World Bank comes up with lots of initiative in renewable energy. And the answer here is A, World Bank. Basically, this is an initiative of World Bank in partnership with Agency Française de Développement, the French Development Agency, International Renewable Energy Agency, and International Solar Alliance. The main purpose is to solve the problem of credit crunch in the solar sector. It aims in supporting countries in developing sustainable solar program that will attract private investment so as to reduce the dependence on public finances. UPSC also asks questions related to international affairs in the prelims exam. For instance, this question of prelims 2018. The term two-state solution is sometimes mentioned in the news in the context of the affairs of China, Israel, Iraq, Yemen. The answer is as easy as candy. It is Israel. It's basically between the affair of Israel and Palestine. Now, the question for you is one country, two systems principle is often heard in news in the context of the affair of China and Taiwan, Afghanistan and Taliban, China and Hong Kong, or Libya. The answer is China and Hong Kong. Hong Kong historically has been part of China and it operates as a semi autonomous city presently. In the late 1800s, China and Britain fought a war. China lost, Britain won, and as a result of this, Hong Kong was given to Britain for a period of 99 years. This 99 years period ended in 1997, and then the Britishers gave back Hong Kong to China, but with a unique agreement. Because Hong Kong was ruled by Britishers for 99 years, the politico-economic culture was very different from the mainland China. So to make the transition smooth, Britishers had an agreement with China for a period of 50 years. And in this period, the agreement said that the Hong Kong will be ruled by a mini constitution that is popularly called as basic law and on the principle of one country, two system. This principle and the basic law of Hong Kong guarantees Hong Kong higher degree of autonomy. And then there are democratic rights to the people of Hong Kong that is not available to citizens of mainland China. For example, right to vote. Although there is election in mainland China, but there is only one leading party, so as such there is no meaning of election. In Hong Kong, people enjoy freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of publication, freedom of assembly, of procession, and of demonstration that will be unthinkable in the mainland China. Hong Kong also has an independent judiciary, and the final arbitration has to be done by the judiciary of Hong Kong. The cases will not be taken to mainland China. But this agreement was only for 50 years, so it's gonna end in 2047. But China is being impatient, and recently it is in the process of enacting an internal security law for the Hong Kong, which will curb rights of people of Hong Kong and will also not allow them to criticize the Chinese government. A related question, Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act of 2019 has been enacted by which country? China, United States, Japan, or none of the above? Obviously, this is not China. It could be obvious, but obviously this is not the answer. The answer is United States. The Hong Kong activists have been lobbying in US for years now. That lobbying has yielded result in the form of Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act of 2019. This act requires the US government to impose sanctions against mainland China and Hong Kong officials considered responsible for human rights abuses in Hong Kong. And it will require the United States Department of State and other agencies to conduct an annual review to determine whether the changes in Hong Kong's political status justify changing the unique favorable trade relation between US and Hong Kong. And recently, President Donald Trump has taken back the special status of Hong Kong as an economic partner to the US. Now we have come to the last question of February current affair. Which country recently introduced sustainable development tax for regional tourism? Sweden, Norway, Bhutan, United Kingdom. This has been done by our dearest Bhutan. Thank you for listening and thank you very much for learning. See you next time.